Have you ever wondered about the man behind one of the most controversial reigns in history, King Leopold II of Belgium? This enigmatic figure, shrouded in both glory and infamy, held the throne for an impressive 44 years, the longest reign in Belgian history. But his rule was anything but ordinary. King Leopold II was not just a king. He was also a founder, the man who established the Congo Free State in 1885. This was a feat that forever etched his name in the annals of history. However, it wasn't just the establishment of the Congo Free State that made Leopold infamous. It was also how he administered it. His reign over the Congo Free State was characterized by atrocities and brutality. Forced labor was rampant, and the Congolese population significantly declined under his rule. These actions cast a dark shadow over his legacy, turning him from a king into a symbol of colonial brutality. But history is multifaceted, and so was King Leopold II. He was not just a king or a colonial ruler, he was a man with a personal life filled with unhappiness and scandal. His marriage was fraught with difficulties, and he had numerous mistresses, including a controversial relationship with a young French prostitute. During his reign, Belgium also saw significant political developments. The most notable among these was the introduction of universal male suffrage in 1893, a milestone in the history of Belgian democracy. King Leopold II was a man of many faces: a king, a colonial ruler, a husband, a lover, and a political reformer. His life, filled with triumphs and tragedies, controversies and reforms, is a fascinating study of the complexities of historical figures. Let's delve into the life of this enigmatic king, starting from his birth. Born on April 9, 1835, Leopold II was the second son of Leopold I and Queen Louise Marie. This day marked the advent of a new chapter in the lineage of the Belgian monarchy. His father, Leopold I, was the first king of the Belgians, a man of strong character who laid the foundation for the Belgian monarchy. Leopold II's mother, Queen Louise Marie, was a woman of grace and elegance, hailing from the influential House of Orléans in France. In the grandeur of the royal palace of Brussels, Leopold II was introduced to the world. The birth of a royal child, especially one so close to the throne, was a grand event, steeped in tradition and ceremony. The palace was abuzz with activity, the air filled with anticipation and excitement. As the second son, Leopold II was not the immediate heir to the throne, but his birth was still a cause for national celebration. From his earliest days, Leopold II was groomed for a life of leadership. He was surrounded by tutors and advisors, each one tasked with shaping the young prince into a future king. His education was rigorous, focusing on the arts, politics, and military strategy. The young prince's days were filled with lessons and royal duties, leaving little time for the frivolity of childhood. Leopold II's upbringing was not all seriousness and duty, however. As a child of the royal court, he was privy to the pomp and circumstance of royal life. He attended elaborate balls and banquets, met with dignitaries and diplomats, and witnessed the intricacies of political maneuvering firsthand. These early experiences would have a profound effect on his perspective and approach to ruling later in life. His parents, Leopold and Queen Louise Marie, played integral roles in his upbringing. They instilled in him a strong sense of duty and responsibility towards his country. His father, in particular, was a significant influence, sharing his insights and experiences as a king and guiding his son towards his eventual role as monarch. His early life was steeped in the trappings of royalty and set the stage for his future reign. It was an upbringing marked by privilege and responsibility, a childhood shaped by the expectations of a nation. And while the path to the throne was not immediate, the seeds of ambition were planted, setting in motion a reign that would leave an indelible mark on Belgian history. In 1865, Leopold II ascended to the throne following the death of his father. The year was a turning point in Belgian history. The young prince, a mere 30 years old, stepped into the shoes of his father, King Leopold I. The elder Leopold had been a pillar of stability, guiding the country through its early years of independence. And now his son was tasked with leading Belgium into a new era. Leopold II's ascension came at a time when Belgium was in a state of flux. The young nation, a mere 3 decades old, was still carving out its identity in a continent dominated by powerful empires. Belgium was a beacon of neutrality, a small but prosperous nation that had managed to hold its own against its larger neighbors. Leopold II came into power with grand visions for Belgium. He viewed his country as a fledgling power that had the potential to stand shoulder to shoulder with the great nations of Europe. He saw himself not just as a king, but as a nation builder, a visionary, who would propel Belgium into the world stage. However, his ascension was not without its challenges. Leopold II had to navigate the complex landscape of Belgian politics, balancing the needs of the French and Flemish-speaking communities, managing the economic demands of a rapidly industrializing nation, and maintaining Belgium's delicate neutrality in a Europe often torn by conflict. But Leopold II was a man of resolve. He was determined to shape Belgium according to his vision. He believed that a strong monarchy was the key to stability and progress. And so, he set out to consolidate his power, redefining the role of the monarchy in Belgium's constitutional framework. As he took the oath of office, Leopold II pledged his dedication to the welfare of his people. He promised to guide Belgium with wisdom and justice, to uphold its independence and to safeguard its prosperity. With his coronation, a new chapter in Belgian history began. One of the most notable aspects of Leopold II's reign was his establishment of the Congo Free State in 1885. Leopold II was not just a king, he was a man with a vision that extended far beyond the borders of his own kingdom. His gaze was set on the vast, resource-rich lands of the African continent, specifically the region that we now know as the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was here that he established the Congo Free State, a territory that was, in theory, meant to be a free trade area for all nations. But what were his true intentions? It was a complicated mix of ambition, greed, and a belief in the so-called civilizing mission, a common justification for colonialism in that era. Leopold II saw the Congo as his chance to increase his wealth and prestige. He presented himself as a philanthropist, eager to bring the benefits of European civilization to Africa, while in reality he was more interested in exploiting the region's abundant natural resources, especially rubber. Now let's talk about the international reaction. At the time, the global community was largely ignorant of Leopold's true intentions. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, a meeting of European powers to discuss African affairs, recognized Leopold's claim to the Congo. The European powers, engrossed in their own colonial ventures, were more than willing to accept Leopold's narrative. After all, he was promising free trade and the end of slave trade in the region. However, not everyone was fooled. Some, like the American explorer Henry Morton Stanley, who had helped Leopold establish his claim to the Congo, eventually became disillusioned with the king's rule. Others, like the Irishman Roger Casement, who was initially an admirer of Leopold, became outspoken critics after witnessing the atrocities committed in the Congo. In essence, the establishment of the Congo Free State was a masterstroke of deception, a grand illusion created by a king who was more interested in personal gain than in the welfare of the Congolese people. It was an act that would have profound consequences not just for the Congo, but for Leopold II himself. This decision marked a significant turning point in his reign. However, Leopold II's administration of the Congo Free State was far from benevolent. It was a time of cruelty and exploitation, a dark chapter in the Congo's history that left lasting scars, both physical and psychological. Leopold II ruled the Congo Free State not as a monarch, but as a corporate despot. His primary interest was in extracting as much wealth as possible from the land, and he used brutal methods to achieve this goal. The native Congolese were forced into labor, toiling in rubber plantations and mines under the harshest of conditions. They were subjected to severe physical punishment, sometimes even death, if they failed to meet the steep production quotas set by Leopold's administration. The brutality of Leopold's rule extended beyond forced labor. Entire villages were wiped out if they resisted the regime. Innocent men, women, and children were caught in the crossfire, their lives deemed less valuable than the rubber and ivory they were forced to procure. The Congo Free State became a place of terror, a nightmare realm where human rights were discarded in the name of profit. This reign of terror had a devastating impact on the Congolese population. It's estimated that millions of Congolese lost their lives during this period, either directly from the violence or indirectly through disease and starvation. The exact number is hard to pin down, but the consensus among historians is that the population of the Congo was halved during Leopold's rule. This mass loss of life is a testament to the cruelty of his regime. The atrocities committed in the Congo were not isolated incidents, but a systematic campaign of terror and exploitation. Leopold II's administration was responsible for one of the most brutal colonial regimes in history, a regime that prioritized profit over human life. But the world was starting to take notice. Reports of the atrocities committed in the Congo began to leak out, sparking outrage among the international community. The pressure was mounting on Leopold II, and his carefully constructed facade of benevolence was beginning to crumble. The dark side of Leopold's reign was beginning to unravel. The true nature of his rule was coming to light, revealing a king who was less a benevolent ruler and more a ruthless exploiter. The legacy of Leopold II is one of greed, brutality, and a shocking disregard for human life. It's a legacy that continues to haunt the Congo, a painful reminder of a dark chapter in its history. Reports of abuse under Leopold's rule began to circulate, leading to international pressure. The whispers of atrocities committed in the Congo Free State turned into a resounding echo, reverberating in the halls of power worldwide. Countries around the globe couldn't ignore the chilling tales of forced labor, brutality, and a significant decline in the Congolese population. There was a growing wave of international outrage. Activists, politicians, and humanitarians banded together, demanding an end to the inhumane treatment of the Congolese people. The Congo Reform Association, founded by British journalist Edie Morel and diplomat Roger Casement, played a crucial role in exposing the abuses. It was a time when the world was watching and the pressure was mounting. In the face of this global scrutiny, the Belgian government found itself cornered. The atrocities could no longer be swept under the rug, and the world was waiting for their response. In a move that signified the beginning of the end for Leopold's reign over the Congo, the Belgian government decided to take action. In 1908, the unthinkable happened. The Belgian government officially took over the management of the Congo Free State. This was not a voluntary handover of power by the king, but rather a forcible intervention to end the widespread human rights abuses. The Congo Free State was no more, replaced by Belgian Congo, a colony under the direct control of the Belgian government. Leopold II, once the absolute ruler of the Congo Free State, found himself stripped of his power. His dream of a colonial empire built on the backs of the Congolese people was crumbling. The international pressure had left its mark, and the consequences were clear. The world had watched, judged, and taken action. Leopold II's dream of a colonial empire was crumbling. His reign over the Congo was over, and the legacy he left behind was one of brutality, exploitation, and an insatiable hunger for power. Beyond his reign, Leopold II also led a troubled personal life. His royal obligations and ambitions for empire building were only one side of his life. The other was marred with personal struggles and controversy. Leopold II was wedded to Marie Henriette of Austria, a marriage that was more of a political alliance than a love match. The union was unhappy from the start and became even more strained over the years. The couple had 4 children, but their only son died at a young age, a tragedy that drove them further apart. As their relationship deteriorated, they lived separate lives, with Marie Henriette residing in the Belgian seaside town of Ostend and Leopold, immersing himself in his imperial ambitions. In contrast to his cold and distant marriage, Leopold had a colorful and controversial love life outside wedlock. He was known to have had multiple mistresses, some of whom wielded considerable influence over him. Among them was Caroline Lacroix, a young Frenchwoman who was a controversial figure in Leopold's life. Their relationship began when she was just 16, and she was with him until his death, a fact that raised more than a few eyebrows in the Belgian court and society. Lacroix was not just a mistress but a confidant and companion to Leopold. He lavished her with gifts, and even granted her noble titles, much to the chagrin of the Belgian nobility. Their relationship was not just scandalous for its impropriety, but also for the power that Lacroix held over the king. She was a significant influence in his life, affecting his decisions and shaping his policies. Leopold II's personal life was rife with controversy and struggle. From an unhappy marriage to scandalous affairs, his life outside his reign was as tumultuous as his rule. It was a life marked by personal loss, illicit love, and the relentless pursuit of power. His personal life was as complex and controversial as his reign. Despite the controversies, Leopold II's reign also saw significant political developments in Belgium. One of the most notable milestones was the introduction of universal male suffrage in 1893. This was a major step forward for democracy in Belgium, opening up the political process to every adult male citizen, regardless of social standing or wealth. This move towards greater political inclusivity was not an isolated incident. It was part of a broader societal shift that occurred during Leopold's 44-year reign, the longest in Belgian history. The latter half of the 19th century was a time of rapid change and progress both in Europe and globally, and Belgium, under Leopold's rule, was no exception. The Belgian government during this period also embarked on a series of reforms aimed at modernizing the country's infrastructure and economy. This included significant investment in the country's railway network, which played a crucial role in connecting different regions of Belgium and facilitating economic growth. Moreover, Leopold's reign saw Belgium becoming an increasingly important player on the international stage. The country's strategic location at the heart of Europe, coupled with its growing economic strength, allowed it to play a significant role in the complex web of international politics that defined the era. Yet it's important to remember that these developments did not occur in a vacuum. They were the product of a wider societal transformation that was underway across Europe at the time. They were also influenced by Leopold's own vision for Belgium, a vision that, for all its flaws, was not without its merits. In conclusion, while Leopold II's reign was undoubtedly marred by controversy, and his policies in the Congo Free State were nothing short of horrific, it's also true that his time on the throne coincided with a period of significant political progress in Belgium. His reign was not without its achievements. On December 17, 1909, King Leopold II passed away, leaving behind a controversial legacy. King Leopold II, the second king of the Belgians, breathed his last breath in the winter of 1909. His reign, spanning an impressive 44 years, was the longest in Belgian history. But his death was not met with the typical mourning one might expect for a long-standing monarch. Instead, it was clouded by the controversy that had shrouded his reign, particularly his administration of the Congo Free State. In the immediate aftermath of his death, the world's eyes turned to Belgium and the Congo. Questions hung heavy in the air. What would become of the Congo Free State, a territory that had suffered under Leopold's rule? Who would ascend the throne? The Belgian government, amidst international pressure, had taken over the Congo just a year prior to Leopold's death, marking the end of his personal reign over the territory. Leopold's legacy was a complex tapestry of political development and human rights abuses. On one hand, his reign saw significant political developments in Belgium, including the introduction of universal male suffrage in 1893. Yet on the other hand, his rule over the Congo was marked by atrocities, forced labor and brutality, leading to a significant decline in the Congolese population. His death sparked a period of reflection and reevaluation. It was a time to look at the state of affairs he left behind, a time to address the brutalities of the past, and a time to chart a new path forward, one hopefully filled with justice and reform. In the end, Leopold II's 44-year reign was a turbulent time in history. His death marked the end of an era, a time of rapid change and development, but also a time of significant controversy and human suffering. King Leopold II's reign was marked by controversy and change, making him a significant figure in history. Looking back at King Leopold II's life, it is clear that his reign was a complex blend of ambition, controversy, and change. Born into royalty, Leopold ascended to the throne in an era of immense global shifts, where nations were vying for power and territory. His ambition led him to establish the Congo Free State, a venture that marked a significant chapter in Belgian history. Leopold's rule over the Congo Free State, however, is a dark mirror reflecting the grim side of colonial ambition. The forced labor, atrocities, and brutality under his administration led to a significant decline in the Congolese population. These actions sparked international outrage, eventually pressuring the Belgian government to take over the Congo in 1908. Beyond his controversial rule in the Congo, Leopold's personal life was equally troubled. An unhappy marriage and a series of mistresses, including a scandalous relationship with a young French prostitute, further complicated his image. Yet, amidst these controversies, Leopold's reign saw significant political developments in Belgium. The introduction of universal male suffrage in 1893 stands as a testament to the changes he brought about. In reflecting on Leopold's life, we must grapple with the duality of his legacy. On one hand, he was a king who sought to elevate Belgium's status on the global stage. On the other, his rule in the Congo left a scar on history, a stark reminder of the human cost of colonial ambition. Regardless of one's perspective, King Leopold II's reign is a fascinating study in the complexities of power, ambition, and historical legacy.